All right, this is for Unit 2, Lesson 2 for Algebra, and I had to pre-write this because I talked too long and it won't let me upload it to YouTube. So I went ahead and just kept these records, or these, what I wrote down before, but definitely stop the video and write it down. Okay, so pause it and write it down. So we're looking at the domain and range of a function, or even the domain and range of a relation. So the domain, like I said before in section 1, is that a lot of this unit is terminology. So what domain is, it's your input, it's your x values, and in order to pair to your x value here, the first one, it's also your independent variable. And when we talk about graphing or finding the domain and range of a graph, we want to look left to right. That'll make more sense on the back. Range is your output, your y value, your dependent variable, and then when we're looking at the graph, it's the y value, so it's going to be highest to lowest, okay, or lowest to highest. Actually, I should say that, lowest to highest. So what I want you to think about is your domain and range. To keep it straight, I like to look at it as alphabetical order. Alphabetical order, the D becomes before the R. The I comes before the O. The X comes before the Y. So domain will come before range. It's the x value and the y value. But the only thing that doesn't work is the independent variable and dependent variable. D comes before I, but the rest of these, it works. Just think alphabetically. All right? So pause that and make sure you have that written down. Now, we're going to look at the domain and range of a function and determining what they are as a function. So you're going to write the domain and range of the relationship provided. Now, with the domain and range, remember the domain is your x value, the range is your y value. And what we want to do is we want to write it in numerical order and don't repeat, so which I'm going to explain what that means. So the domain of this set, we have a -2, 2, -1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 0. The domain are your x values. And notice they're already in numerical order, so that's good. -2, -1, 0, and 1. And none of them repeat, which it's a relation, not necessarily a function. So it's a relation. That's okay. Now the range, look at the range though. We have 2, 2, 2, and 0. Well, that's okay. That is a function. The range could repeat. But what we want to do is put the numerical order. So it's going to be 0 first and then only 1, number 2. Don't repeat. Okay. Now these don't pair up. Don't think, oh, it wasn't -2, 0, -1, 2. It was there. But don't feel like these pair up. Okay, so the domain are these numbers, your range is this number. And I also, the braces, these are braces, that's your set notation. So that's why we write this. So these are set, and you might have to, sometimes I do well with these and sometimes I don't. This is set notation. Okay, then this one, number 14, the domain and range. Now, again, the domain is your x values, but watch it though, numerical order. So you really have to look ahead and look. So there's 2 4s. So that is not a function, but it's a relation. So we have 4, 5, 6, and 8. Okay. Then the range are your y values. Look again, put them in numerical order. Don't repeat if they repeat. But we have 0, 2, 3, 4. You're looking at the second number only, and 7. Okay. Now here's a table. So those were 2 ordered pair examples. Now we have a table. Again, the table, your x value is your domain. And if it repeats, which it does, that's not a function, but it's a relation, don't write it twice in numerical order. So -1, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. The range is your output, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. The input, here, your mapping diagram. Your x value is your domain, -1, 3, and 11. Your output is your 4 and 15. Okay, so now let's talk about graphs. This is what took me so long on the other video. So I'm going to really cover this up because I want you to see and understand what we're saying. So at this point in time in this video, would you write turkey? This is your secret word for this unit. 2, 2. If I ask that on a quiz or anything, your secret word is turkey. Gobble, gobble. All right, now this wants us to find the domain and range of relation represented by the graph. Okay, the domain and range represented by the graph. Notice there's individual points. individual points, if they're individual points like this, we call this a discrete graph, a discrete function, because they're individual points. Now to do this, what I would do is I would make a table, because writing this could be hard sometimes of figuring out the domain and range. Remember in this first page where we said the graph from left to right? Well, the domain, if you go from left to right, what are those numbers? So a lot of times I like to write an ordered pair. So this ordered pair is -3, -2. This ordered pair is -1, 0. This ordered pair is 1, 2. And this ordered pair is 3, 4. So I like to write that down. Then from there, I can write my domain and range. Okay, I can write my domain and range. If I have individual points, I'm going to have individual numbers here. Again, left to right, you should be going then in numerical order. -3, -1, 1, and 3. The range is from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. If you go lowest to highest, then you're going to be in numerical order. So -2, 0, 2, 4. Okay, so -2, 0, 2, 4 is your range. Individual points, you're going to have individual numbers like this. Okay, now, number 18. Look at number 18. We have a closed dot, and then we have this line. Well, you know what? We have all of these ordered pairs on these lines. We cannot possibly write down all of them. So we're going to be using the compound inequalities that we learned in Unit 1. So our domain, our range from this number, which is -2, all the way to +3. So our x value, again, the domain goes from the x values left to right. So how do you think we would write that? Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so we're going to write it as a compound inequality. Now, I do have to look up to see if we do the set notation or not. I kind of feel like we do. But I will look it up to see on a compound inequality if we do or not. But -2, now that's a closed circle. So we're going to have a less than or equal to, because that means all of our numbers are going to be between -2 and 3. So -2 is less than or equal to x. Now, because it's domain, you want x is less than or equal to 3. These closed circles represent if it's equal or not. And the domain, you want to use your x. Now let's look at our range. Our range goes from this bottom part, this number here, which is going to be a -1, all the way up to 2 and everything in between. So if it goes from -1 to 2, what do you think that's going to look like? Bum, bum, bum. Yes. The only difference is make sure you put a y here for your range. Your range needs the y because that's all the y values can go from -1 to 2. It's closed circles, so you're going to have an equal sign. So the compound inequalities come into play with this. Also now, since it's connected, we call this continuous. Okay, even though it stops here and it stops here, it's continuous within these two numbers. Okay, so it's continuous between those two ordered pairs, I should say. All right, let's look at the next one. Now, the next one, notice here, the domain and range. Well, if we go from left to right, it only starts, our x value only starts right here at 1. But then it goes on forever. If I keep going, like it keeps going on forever. So if it's going up like this, going like that, that means it's continuing x forever. So x1 is our minimum number. So our domain, that's a D. Our domain is going to look like this. X is greater than or equal. We're not for sure. I think I made that dot to 1. Okay, so it's at 1 and it's greater than or equal. That means x value can go on forever. Now the y value, notice the y value can keep going in positives. It can keep going in negatives. So it has all the numbers from the lower numbers to the higher number. So this is what we write, all real numbers. So we write all real numbers there. And this is a little symbol. I'll show you what it is. It's an R and another line. So it's like another line. It's like, oh, I wrote that too far apart. I do this there. It's like a line, and I don't know why they write it like that, but that represents real numbers, all real numbers, which means all the numbers you know right now in your wheelhouse. Okay, you don't know imaginary numbers just yet. All right, number 20. Number 20, they're individual points. So if you want to make a table and listing each point, I would do that. So your x values are going to go from here to from left to right. So negative 2, 4, negative 2, 4, negative 1, 2. This is 0. Don't forget that point. There's a point there. So 0, 0. Then 1, 2, and 2, 4. Okay. Again, your domain values are the x values, and from left to right, or least to greatest. So negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Now your range is going to go from lowest to highest. So sometimes I like just to look down here. So that's 0. That's the lowest. 2, you only list that once. And then 4, you only list that once. So 0, 2, and 4, numerical order, and only once. Okay, so individual points here. If it's continuous like this, you're going to have some type of inequality. It's restricted either on one end, or it's restricted on both ends, meaning it's restricted here and here. That means it stops. Okay, so let's look at 21. So 21. Okay, so left to right. Left to right, these continue all the way up. So those continue. So the x value, if I keep going over this way, the x value keeps coming. The x value, so that means the domain is going to be all real numbers. The domain, sorry guys, that's a mess. Domain is going to be all real numbers. That's a number sign. And you can do that all real number symbol if you'd like. Then the range, notice the y's, I can't go below the x-axis. So the y's are limited to right here and everything above. So you're going to have y, the range is y is greater than or equal to 0. Because the y's are starting here, but going up. So greater than or equal to 0 there. All right, number 22. What do you notice about number 22? Is it discrete or continuous? Well, there's a line connecting, so it's going to be continuous. But notice these endpoints. Notice they're not filled in. But it's all, the x values are going to be from 2, if you even want to do this, 2 to 7. So the x values are going to be between 2 and 7, and it's going to be a compound inequality. And so you're going to have 2 as your lowest x, 7 is your highest, but don't put an equal sign. So we have 2 is less than x, which is less than 7. And the range is going to be your y values. So the range is going to be 1 up to 6. So you have 1 is less than y, which is less than 6. A second bonus secret question is going to be cranberry sauce. So cranberry sauce. I feel very Thanksgiving-ish today. So our second one is cranberry sauce. That is our second secret word. Okay, so that was Unit 2. So Unit 2, Section 2 on domain and range. And I know we're going to need more practice with this. So don't fret about it, but we'll definitely have more practice with it.